Hello everyone, this is Judaiah. The title of this video is What is Hanukkah and Should We Celebrate It? Judaists of Judaism call it Hanukkah today, or the Festival of Lights. But the first thing I want to remind you is that the Jews of Judaism are not descendants of the original Israelites who ordained this day. They've made it something that it never was. And if you ask a Judaist what Hanukkah was about, they might tell you a story about the Israelites only having 1 day worth of oil, but somehow it miraculously kept a lamp lit for 8 days. This is not true. The holiday later became likened unto Christmas, which you should know by now is a pagan holiday, and they gave gifts to one another. This made Hanukkah even more popular, but this is not what the day was originally about. Get your pen and pad ready, and I will briefly explain what Hanukkah is. Everything the Most High and the original Israelites themselves have established, Judaists have destroyed. Remember, the true Jews are DNA Jews, descending from Jacob Israel. They were and still are a dark-skinned people. Judaists today are mainly European partakers in Judaism, a religion that distorts the true Torah and the word of the Most High. They've done the same with Hanukkah. Okay, first off, the name of this day is not Hanukkah. Its original name in English is the Feast of Dedication. If you read 1 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 36 through 40 in the Apocrypha, it reads, "Then said Judas and his brethren, Behold, our enemies are discomforted. Let us go up to cleanse the temple and dedicate the sanctuary. Upon this all the host assembled themselves together and went up to Mount Zion. And it says, They saw the sanctuary desolate and the altar profaned, and the gates burned up, and shrubs growing in the courts as if in the forest or in the mountains." And then verse 40 says, "They fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried to the heaven." So here's the story behind this scripture. After the Greeks conquered Israel in the 4th century, they were under a Greek king by the name of Epiphanes. And he had set up an altar to Zeus inside of the temple and sacrificed a pig, an unclean animal, inside of the temple. This is called an abomination of desolation. Now, the priest over the Israelites, his name was Mattathias. He and his 5 sons began a revolution that the Israelites continued even after his death. Now, the Maccabees were from the Hasmonean family, but they were Israelites. They were led by Judas, who was a Maccabee, and they fought against the king and they won. Around 165 BC, which was about 2 years later, the Israelites reclaimed the temple and rededicated it after he had defiled it. This is what 1 Maccabees 4:36 was talking about. And verse 59 says that Judas and his brethren with the entire congregation ordained this day of dedication to be kept annually for 8 days. So the Feast of Dedication has 2 purposes. Number 1, to commemorate the victory of the Israelites or the Maccabees over the Greeks. And number 2, to commemorate the reclaiming and cleansing of the temple after it was defiled by the Greeks. Now, you've heard no mention of oil in the scriptures because there was none. The story of 1 day worth of oil keeping a lamp lit for 8 days has become the center theme of the day's celebration. They say that after the Israelites cleansed the temple, they went to light the menorah but could only find enough oil for 1 day, but it stayed lit for 8 days. But if you read 1 Maccabees, this story cannot be found in the scripture. The story of oil and the lampstand lit for 8 days was a story created by Judaist rabbis in the text that they've created, which adds extra laws and traditions to the Torah, which in and of itself is an act of abomination. But the story the Judaists decide to create does not focus on the Israelite victory. Why is that? The Hasmonean family to which the Maccabees belonged later became Hellenized, meaning they took on pagan culture of the Greeks. They became corrupt and they turned on their own people, the Israelites. So the story of the Israelite victory over the Greeks was later covered up and was replaced by this made-up story about oil lasting for 8 days. Such a monumental story of how the Israelites overthrew a nation and took back their temple and rededicated it to the Most High, about how they worshiped before it and cried out to the Most High before it, all diminished to a story about 8 days worth of oil in a lamp. What a tragedy. Now, given it was the Israelite Hasmonean family that covered up the truth of their own history, the truth remained among the Israelite nation throughout the years, whether the Hasmoneans wanted to cover it up or not. Generations later, here comes the Judaists who choose to adopt the fake version over the true version. And now the day is called Hanukkah, in celebration of oil. Just another example of what happens when the word of the Most High is put into the hands of Judaism and fake Jews. At some point, if Judaism was pure, the truth should have been revived. Until this day, all they talk about is that oil. So we all know that when you tell one lie, you must eventually tell another to cover up the first one you told. So what else have the Jews of Judaism distorted about the original Feast of Dedication they now call Hanukkah? The original design of the menorah all of a sudden changes. In order to solidify their false story, they had to create a symbol of it. They changed the original design of the 6-stem menorah to an 8-stem menorah to symbolize the 8 days they claimed the lamp stayed lit. Is it acceptable to change the design of the menorah? You may not think this is a big deal, but if you read Exodus chapter 25, verse 31 through 40, you'll see why it is. The Most High designed it. Just like he designed the temple, he specifically instructed there to be 3 branches on each side, totaling 6. Judaists changed the design such that it would be 4 branches on each side, totaling 8, to solidify their lie about the 8 days worth of oil. Like I said, when you tell one lie, you must tell another to confirm it. Now, knowing what the Feast of Dedication was really about, the Israelite victory over the Greeks and the rededication of the temple and the cleansing of the temple, should we celebrate it? Well, the main question is this: was it a law given unto Moses? The answer is no, it was not. So are we obligated to observe the Feast of Dedication? No, we are not. The next question is, well, then why did the Messiah observe it? The answer is this: because he hung out with his people. He did this throughout his ministry. He was at their homes, their parties, their weddings, because how can you impact people you refuse to be around? This was one of his key beauties of his character. He wasn't afraid to be around prostitutes and thieves. They were the very ones he came to influence the most. So yes, he did what the Israelites did in honor of their temple at that time. John says he was present for the Feast of Dedication. But he was not there because it was commanded. He was there because his people were there. And who wouldn't want to celebrate the reclaiming and the cleansing of their temple after another nation had destroyed it? That should have been a great celebration. That's like someone you know and love is having surgery in the hospital and you think they're going to die and they live. Would you not celebrate that? They thought they had lost their temple, but by the favor of the Most High, they reclaimed it back for their nation. This is what the Feast of Dedication is all about. So if you choose to celebrate it, you may, but know why you're celebrating it. Don't do as the Judaists have done. Don't light an 8-branch menorah to commemorate oil. Celebrate it for 8 days because that's the number of days it was ordained for. But keep your 6-branch menorah. Don't go out and buy an 8-branch. It was designed by Judaists. And remember, the feast had nothing to do with oil. Don't bother to sing the Hanukkah songs because most of them were written by Judaists, and the lyrics are full of stories about oil too. The tradition of giving your kids one gift every day for 8 days, that has nothing to do with the Feast of Dedication as well. But however you choose to commemorate this day, stay as far away from the lies as you can. So there you have it, a brief explanation of the Feast of Dedication. I hope I've shed some light on the reason behind the day, but the most important thing is that the truth be told behind it, and the lie of Hanukkah that's been told be exposed. So that's all I have for you today. This is Judiah. Thank you for watching and be blessed.